Chapter 9 of Autistic Logistics, Hitting in Intense Energy. This chapter is about how to help our children when they hit, bite, scratch, pinch, kick, slap, punch, or pull the hair of another person, or use any type of physical force. In over 30 years of working with children and adults, I've been hit, strangled, kicked, punched, pinched, bitten, slapped, headbutted, and scratched by little children, as well as by adults who were far taller and heavier than me. I've been with a child who continually tried to hit, bite, and scratch me for an over and out. I've been with an adult who was much heavier and stronger than me, where I was not sure that I would be able to physically look after myself. If you're in any of these situations and you do not know what to do or how to handle it, know that I've been there too. And through the Sunrise program, I gained attitudes and strategies that are highly effective in helping our children learn to manage their intense energy and be gentle with others. It is these techniques that I outline in this chapter. They are time-tested and have been effective with numerous children on the spectrum. Recently, I was talking to a great mom of Ariel, a lovely 5-year-old with autism. When I first met this mom, her arms were literally black and white from bruises. Ariel had periods every day where she would pinch and bite her mom's arms, face, and legs. Her mom completely changed her attitude and perspective about why her daughter hit her and put the techniques below into practice. Today, Ariel has not pinched or bitten her mom in over 6 months. Her mom proudly sports a t-shirt exposing her bruise-free arms. Reframe why you think your child hits. The first place to start is to reframe the way we think about why our child might hit. Most parents and professionals describe children as being aggressive or violent when they do the above-mentioned behaviors. In the dictionary, aggressive is defined as characterized by or tending toward unprovoked offensives, attacks, invasions, or the like. Malignantly, forcing forward, or menacing. Violent is defined in the dictionary as using extremely forceful actions that are intended to hurt people or are likely to cause damage. I completely understand that it may feel as if our children are out to attack us and want to hurt us when they hit us. It seems to make sense, since it often does hurt. I used to think the same thing. However, it is not our children's intention or the purpose behind why they hit or use physical force. They have other reasons for doing this that may not be apparent to you at first glance. Remember earlier I shared our children do things for a reason. If we come from this perspective, we can become detectives and look for signs that our children give us before they hit and help us know their reason. The 4 major reasons our children hit us are the following. They're trying to communicate something through their hitting. Some of our children have discovered that when they hit people, the people around them move faster and get them what they want more quickly. They want to see our reaction to their hitting. They want us to see us cry, yell, protest, and tell them off. They have sensory challenges where hitting, biting, pinching are actually helping them regulate their sensory system. They're trying to protect themselves. Some of our children feel that this is the only way to get some of the people in their lives to stop and listen to them. All 4 reasons are very different from wanting to hurt or attack us, although of course it is totally understandable why you may have thought otherwise. That is why in the Sunrise program we do not label this behavior as aggressive or violent. We call it intense energy. The label intense energy has none of the judgmental associations that the word aggressive or violent have, and more accurately describes what is happening. So from this point forward, I refer to all hitting, biting, pinching, and physical force as intense energy. It may seem as if your child very suddenly, out of the blue, hits you or someone else for no reason that you can see. Indeed, when I started to work with children on the autism spectrum, I believe this too. My training has taught me how to observe a child closely and notice what is going on in their environment and their physical bodies and the relationship between what I did and what they did. Once I could do this, it became apparent that not only were there clear reasons for our children to have intense energy, but also that they give very clear signs beforehand. The great news about this is that once you know the signs, you will see them and you will never. The great thing about this is that once you know the signs, you will see them and you will never have to be hit, scratched, kicked, or bitten by your child again. You will see it coming and be able to get out of the way. Learning to observe and notice the signs is crucial, not only so that you can get out of the way, but because they are also clues as to reason your child hits you. Once you know the reasons, then you can apply the specific strategies that will help your child stop hitting and using physical force. Each reason will have a different set of strategies to apply. Below are 4 checklists that group the most common signs and actions our children do either before or during times of intense energy. Read all 4 checklists and check off the signs and actions that are relevant to your child. Checklists. Checklist 1. Communication. Check off any of the actions below if you see your child doing them around the time they have intense energy. They pinch, hit, bite, punch right after you told them that they cannot have something. They have trouble making their needs understood. Maybe they've been physically moving you around trying to get you to do something. You were trying to help them, but had no idea what they wanted. They hit you during a game. It could be a rough and tumble game, or a chase, or a tickle game. Maybe it is even during a singing game or board game. Checklist 2. See your reactions. Check off any of the actions below if you see your child doing them around the time they have intense energy. They look at you directly in the eye when they hit you, or directly after. They smile, laugh, or flap their hands excitedly as you react to their hitting you. They chase you to try and hit you again. They seem quite happy and content with the consequence you gave them. Checklist 3. Sensory challenges. Check off any of the actions below if you see your child doing them around the time they have intense energy. They jump up and down intensely. They tense part of their bodies, for example, tensing their face so much that it might shake a little. They may clench their jaws, they do this. They bang a part of their body vigorously with either their own hand or an object. They run around the house or room with increased energy. They yell sounds longer and louder than usual. They urgently fire questions at you when they know the answer. They become more intense and faster in reciting their scripts from movies or books. They get into a contrary pattern where they ask for something, then say no. When you give it to them, then ask for it again, they then say no, and when you re-offer it, and so on. Checklist 4. Protecting themselves. Check off any of the actions below if you see your child doing them around the time they have intense energy. They stop your attempts to interact with them. For example, you may pick up a toy and play with it, and they take it out of your hands. These say or indicate no to your play suggestions. For example, you may sing and they say no, or put your hand over your mouth. This may happen 3 or 4 times in a row. They move away from your attempts to touch or be physically close to them. Look at which checklist has the most checked off. Then use the techniques and strategies that correspond to that checklist. If it is checklist 1, read the selection below called When Your Child is Using Intense Energy as a Way to Communicate Their Wants. If it is checklist 2, read the section called When Your Child is Using Intense Energy to See Your Reaction. If it is checklist 3, read the section called When Your Child is Using Intense Energy as a Way to Take Care of Their Sensory Challenges. And if it is checklist 4, read the section called When Your Child is Using Intense Energy as a Way to Protect Themselves. Special note. You may find that your child has 2 checklists of signs. That is not unusual. We can all do things for different reasons. Let's take eating. Sometimes I eat because I'm hungry. Other times I eat because I taste the sweetness of food, like chocolate. Or other times I may eat because I'm sad. Our children can use intense energy for different reasons too. For example, you might find on one occasion that your child displays the signs in checklist 1. So on that occasion, apply those strategies. But on another day, she displays signs in checklist 2. So on that occasion, you would apply those strategies. When your child is using intense energy as a way to communicate their wants. You are reading this because your child's signs were mainly in checklist 1. If this is the case, your child is most likely using intense energy as a form of communication. They are hitting, biting, slapping, pinching, or headbanging to let you know they want something. Here are 3 examples. In the first example, Tommy and his mom were at the toy store. Tommy wanted to buy another Thomas the Tank Engine train. He asked his mom, "I want train." Knowing that he already had 10 at home, his mom said, "No, you have some at home." Tommy persisted, saying yes, "Want train." His mom again said, "No, enough trains." Then Tommy hit his mom's arm, to which his mom said, "Okay then," and bought the train. Tommy's mom bought the train because she wanted to avoid a scene in the shop. The unintentional message she gave Tommy was that hitting was a useful way not only to express what you want, but to get what you want. In the second example, Greg and his dad were playing together. They were having a wonderful time wrestling with one another. Greg's dad stopped playing for a bit and told his son he was tired. Greg then hit his dad on the head. His dad thought that this was Greg's way to initiate the game once again, so he started wrestling Greg once more, saying, "Does this mean you want to play more?" Unintentionally giving Greg the message that hitting is a way to initiate play. In the third example, Mary was in the kitchen with her mom. She was pulling her mom by the arm and indicating she wanted something. Her mom had no idea what she wanted. So Mary was yet to be verbal, so it was understandable that her mom did not know what she wanted. Her mom was trying to be useful, and after a moment, she said to her daughter, I don't know what you want, honey," and went to sit down. Mary came to her mom and started to pinch her, to which her mom said, Okay. Thinking that Mary's pinching was a sign of distress, she got up and started in an urgent way to offer her things. Eventually, she found it out that Mary wanted some ice cubes. Here, the unintentional message was, "I will try harder and faster for you when you pinch me." Often when our children use intense energy, the adults around them will move faster and try to understand more. Parents tell me that they move faster and give their children the things that they want so that their child will stop hitting them and to avoid a meltdown. I can see why you would want that. However, the opposite happens. It actually teaches our children to hit more. The child may begin to understand or think, okay, so the way to get more of what I want is to hit, as everyone tries to understand me more and get me what I want faster. For our children who find communicating challenging, it is understandable that they make this connection and use it, not in a naughty or manipulative way, but simply as a form of communication. If this is the case for your child, here are some strategies you can use to help them communicate in a different way. Think the following thoughts. My child is clever. She's trying to get what she wants in the quickest route possible. She's not trying to hurt me. Move slowly and explain that you do not understand hitting. This is very important. Right now, our children have the message that when they use intense energy, the people around them will move fast. Thus, hitting is a useful thing for them. If we reverse that and give them the message that it actually makes people respond really slowly, then it would not be useful for them. This means that when your child hits you, you don't want to move quickly and try to understand what they want. In fact, I would suggest that you tell them in a slow and calm way that you do not understand what their hitting means, directly teaching them that hitting is not a communication that you understand. We want to show our children that any form of intense energy will not help them get what they want anymore, that it makes people move slower and they even become slightly confused. For example, if the strategy was used in the case of Tommy wanting the train in the shop when he hit his mom, she would have said, "Tommy, I do not understand what you mean when you hit me," and put the train back on the shelf. Then she would have stood up and looked very confused. In the example of Greg hitting his father to get him to play the game again, Greg's dad would have said, "I do not understand what you mean when you hit." He would have stayed resting for a while, instead of immediately jumping into action when his son hit him. In the example of Mary pinching her mom, Mary's mom would have said, "Mary, I do not understand what you mean when you hit me." She would have stayed sitting instead of jumping up and trying to find out what Mary wanted. Make hitting completely ineffective. This is very important. You want to help your child understand that intense energy of any kind will not get them what they want. In the example we talked about with Tommy hitting so that his mom would buy him a train, it is really important that you do not buy that train. Even if you were going to buy the train, don't. Not buying it sends the message that hitting is not an effective way to get what you want. This is a very important skill to teach your child, one that will serve them socially in the years to come. Move out of the way. Now you know that your child hits as a way to get what they want. If they want something to which the answer is no, do the following. Know that the child may hit you. Step out of the way so your child cannot reach you with their hands. If your child is small, stand up so that they can't hit your face or pull their hair. If your child is an adult or bigger than you, always have a big therapy ball or big cushion available that you can put between you and your child to protect yourself. For example, I was working with a 13-year-old boy who would use intense energy when we told him that he could not have something he wanted. We had a big therapy ball. When he asked for something that I knew I did not have or could not provide for him, I would slowly and calmly walk over and get behind the therapy ball before I explained why I could not get it for him. That way, if he decided to hit me, I could put the ball in front of me so that he could not reach me, but would hit the ball instead. If your child is much older and bigger, maybe 25 years old and 6 foot tall, then I would suggest you leave the room and tell them you cannot do what they are asking from another room so that you can shut a door if they have an intense energy response. It is important that you protect yourself. Get out of the way so that your child realizes that you are taking steps so that they cannot hit you. The fewer opportunities the child gets to successfully hit you, the more obvious that it will be that this is not a successful strategy and that you don't hit people. Please see later in this chapter for more intense energy strategies for adults on the spectrum. Offer an alternative. Once you have moved out of the way, and explained why you cannot give your child what they wanted, offer an alternative. For example, if they wanted a cookie, offer them a food you do want to give them. If they wanted the yellow car, offer them a different car or toy. If they wanted to go outside, you could draw them a picture of the outside it is, and let them know what time they can or will be going outside. That way, you are communicating to them that hitting will not get them what they want, and that you are trying to be useful to them. Move fast to other forms of communication. This is so important. When we respond slowly to our children's hitting, we want to respond fast to a form of communication that we want them to continue to use. So we are highlighting a form of communication that does make us move fast and does help them get what they want. If we do this for what we want at the same time as responding slowly to hitting and letting them know we don't understand that, they will start to use the other form of communication. So make a conscious decision to respond quickly and fast to all your child's verbal and nonverbal communications when they take you by the hand, point, make sounds, or talk to you. You may think, well, of course I do that already. However, if our children are hitting to communicate their wants, it means we are not responding fast enough to their other forms of communication. This can be understandable as you often have a lot to do. You have household chores, job responsibilities, your other children. phone calls, texts, emails, and so on. There's often so much going on that their communications can at times go unnoticed. This, however, is something we can easily change by having the intention to focus on their other forms of communication more. This means that the next time you're on the phone and your child comes over and starts talking to you, respond straight away to their verbal communication. If you and your husband are talking in the kitchen and your child comes in and asks for something, respond straight away to their request, showing your child that their verbal communication is the quickest way to get what they want. For those of you who have children who are yet to be verbal, maybe they have a few words or sounds that they make. That is okay. Make an intention to respond with an action as much as you can to the sounds that your child is making. You can do this even if you do not understand what your child wants. For example, when your child says a sound, maybe an E sound, do the following. Jump up and say, "That was a great sound." Put an action to the sound and make it into a word. You could get them food or a toy or sing them a song. Once you do that, or you could say, "I got you that," because you made the E sound, highlighting why you responded in that way. If your child indicates needs or wants, they're moving you by the hand or arm. Be super responsive to this, moving wherever your child is pulling you. As soon as they move you, move with them and celebrate them for letting you know what they wanted by moving you in this way. This lets them know that this is a great way to communicate with you and more effective than hitting. If you do these two techniques, with your yet to be verbal child, it will show them another way to successfully communicate what they want. Being more responsive to these other forms of communication is key in helping our children not to use intense energy. Celebrate when your child is gentle. When your child is being gentle with you, praise them. Tell them specifically how you love their gentle touch. You could say something like, "I love that you are holding my hand so nicely," or "Thank you for that lovely gentle hug." Let your child know that you really enjoy it when they interact with you in a gentle way. There are most likely to be so many times during the day when our children do interact with us in a gentle way. So let's highlight these to our children by joyfully celebrating to them. Through our celebration, we are showing our children that being gentle is the way to interact with people. Be persistent and consistent. You may already have a history of moving fast when your child hits you, so it may take a little time for your child to realize this is no longer the way you are going to respond. Keep responding in the way outlined above until they understand this concept. As you do this, know that I am rooting for you. You can do this. Your child is clever, and once hitting is no longer effective in their lives, they will stop. Each time you show your child that hitting is not an effective way to communicate, know that you are one step closer to your child changing this. When your child is using intense energy to see your reaction, you are reading this because your child's signs were primarily in checklist 2, which means that your child was most likely hitting you as a button push. As we talked about in Chapter 7, they're hitting you just to see your reaction. They want to hear you say that they hurt you or watch your face turn red as you raise your voice. They are interested in your reaction to the hitting, not the hitting itself. For example, I was working with a 10-year-old boy with high-functioning autism who loved to watch people's reaction to things. He picked up a play hammer and lifted it up over my head and put on a very intense and grave expression on his face as if he knew he was going to hit me very hard. I already knew that he was doing this so he could watch my reaction, and as I had a lot of experience with him, I knew that he does such things as a button push. So I completely relaxed my body, did not flinch or move away from him, and kept on smiling. When he did not get the reaction he wanted, he just said, "Oh," and put the hammer down. In another example, I was working with an 18-year-old young man
on the spectrum who, after slapping my face, was somewhat mystified when I did not yell at him or lecture him, but had a very calm response to him hitting me. He looked intently into my eyes and said, "But I just slapped you. Should you not be calling someone to come and help you with me?" I replied that I was hoping we would carry on looking at his Pokemon cards. He stared at me a little longer, shrugged his shoulders, and we carried on looking at his cards again. He never slapped me again. This young man was used to people giving him a big reaction and having people come hold him down and put him in timeout at school. He thought it would be the same with me. When he saw that it was different, that I was not going to react in the same way, he had no reason to hit me again. Our children may hit, pinch, spit to get a reaction from the adults around them, because this is a time when adults get lively and interesting and pay attention. For instance, when our children are playing quietly in the living room, either by themselves or with their siblings, we may be in the same room doing something else or paying no attention. But when someone gets hit or pinched, we start to pay a lot of attention to the person who's doing the hitting. We may do one of the following: raise our voices and shout and yell, talk in a high-pitched, squeaky voice, put on grave, interesting facial expressions, wave our arms and hands around, wag a finger in front of our face, turn bright red in anger and frustration. Suddenly, things have got a lot more interesting. If your child is using intense energy to see your interesting reaction, apply the strategies below. Change your reaction. Change it to a non-reaction, as if your child had never hit you. If they were smiling at the time that they hit you, keep smiling. If you had a straight face, keep the straight face. If you were cooking or doing another household chore, keep on with that activity. This is one rare time when I suggest that you do not go into a long explanation about how it is good to be gentle and so on. In my experience, if your child is using intense energy for this reason, it is the long explanation that they want. Instead, tell them lovingly and calmly as you can, "I would love if you were gentle with me." Or, "If you're trying to tell me something, I can't really understand what it is from you hitting, biting, kicking me." Then carry on with what you were doing. This way we acknowledge what just happened and what we want without making it the major event they're looking for. Give big and fun reactions to your child when they're being gentle. We know our children are using intense energy to get a reaction from us. So now let's give them a big reaction when they are being gentle with us. The more we react to their loving, gentle interaction, the more they will do this instead of hitting us. When your child is being gentle, holding your hand or hugging you, give a big and fun reaction. I don't just mean saying thank you for being gentle. That is nice, but add a little spice to it, so that when your child wants you to get your attention and see you react in a funny way, they may just touch you gently instead of hitting you. You could sing while you are praising them, wave your arms in the air as you praise them, jump up and down as you praise them using a fun character voice, turn into an animal, use a big animated expression. The idea is to give your child a big reaction for the behavior you want them to do more. The bigger and funnier, the better. When your child is using intense energy, is a way to take care of their sensory challenges. You are reading this because your child's signs were primarily in checklist 3, which means your child's intense energy is most likely focused on them trying to regulate their sensory systems. We know that our children's sensory systems can be very challenged. They may have energy that is building up inside them that they do not know how to successfully release. Children on the spectrum create unique and interesting ways to relieve the buildup of energy and regulate their sensory systems. You may see them bang on certain parts of their body, or seek pressure on their feet and hands by jumping up and down or banging their hands on the floor or table. Often a child will dig their chin strongly into my shoulder or hands. These and others are all actions our children do to try and take care of their sensory system. Also, the action of biting, squeezing, and pinching actually allows them to release this energy, helping them organize themselves physically. Exercise 9.1. This exercise is for you to experience how squeezing, biting, and pinching can release the pressure building up in the body. Clap your hands together and really squeeze them. Not half-heartedly, but do so with all your might. Do this 3 times, each time at least lasting 20 seconds. Take a moment to reflect on how that felt. Did it release tension in your body? Did it give a strong sensation to your hands? Hold a cushion from your couch and hug it close to you as hard as you can for 30 seconds. How did that feel? Find an object like a bouncy ball or washcloth soaked in water. Really bite into it. Yes, I do mean that. Sink your teeth into it with all your might. Do this at least 3 times, each time lasting at least 3 seconds. 20 seconds. Now reflect on how that felt. How did your jaw feel? Was it a strong sensation? Did it release pressure on your jaw? What I feel when doing this exercise and what people report is a release of any built-up tension. It feels good to do this, and it is helpful for the body. Our children are doing this for the same reasons. However, their need to release energy from the bodies is far greater than ours. Our children are just using our bodies as a way to help themselves. The trick here is to help our children use something other than another person to release their energies. If your child is using intense energy for this, use the strategies outlined below. Think the following thoughts. My child is hitting me in an attempt to take care of their sensory system. Their actions are not connected to their love of me or their respect of me. I can help my child by giving them more sensory input to help them balance their bodies. These thoughts will prepare you to respond in a peaceful, calm, and loving way. Squeeze them. If they are banging their head on you, offer to squeeze their head. If they are pinching you, offer to squeeze their hands. If they're biting you, offer pressure on their jawline. If they are kicking you, offer to squeeze their foot or tap on the soles of their feet. Offer pressure to a part of the body that they are trying to simulate. Give them an explanation. Let them know that they do not have to hit, pinch, or headbutt you when they feel a buildup in their bodies, that you would be happy to squeeze them whenever they want to. Tell them to give you their hands, arms, or feet when you want to that you would be happy to squeeze them whenever they want. Tell them to give you their hand, arms, or feet, and that you would be happy to help them. For example, you would say something like, "You do not have to hit me. If you want some pressure on your hands, I can help you by squeezing your hands. Next time your hands feel like this, give them to me and I will squeeze them for you." Give them the sensory stimulation throughout the day. The idea here is to give them the sensory input that they are seeking throughout the day, so that it does not build up to a moment when they will seek it from using intense energy. I would suggest that you initiate the following activities at least 3 times a day. As you initiate each activity, it's important that you use the control protocol we talked about in Chapter 1. Each time you go to give your child sensory stimulation, let them see you coming, experience what you are doing, and look for permission to begin. Remember, it is more important to respect your child's indication of no than it is to give them sensory stimulation. If they feel that they have control, they will be more likely to open up and let you give them the stimulation they're seeking. Try stimulating in the following ways. Initiate strongly squeezing your child's hands, feet, or head. Initiate a bear hug, with you sitting behind your child and wrapping your arms and legs around them so you can give a really big body squeeze. Initiate rolling them up in a blanket like a hot dog, wrapping them up tightly in the blanket and then rolling them out of it. Initiate rolling a big therapy ball over your child. This is a useful way to give your child a bear hug to a bigger or older child. As you roll a therapy ball over your child, put your body weight on the ball so that your child gets a really strong sensation. Encourage your child to jump on a trampoline. For an older child, age 41 and above, I suggest that you make sure they get a lot of exercise, such as swimming, jogging, running, long, brisk walks, or jumping on a big trampoline, something where they really exert themselves. Do this at least 3 times a week. You can experiment with any of the above suggestions. Pick one that you think your child will enjoy the most. While doing the first 4 suggestions, experiment with the intensity in which you offer the pressure. Slowly increase the pressure while working to make sure your child is enjoying it. My experience is that children who are using intense energy because of their sensory needs will like very deep pressure, stronger than you might think.